We are live. Hola, hola,
Hola.
bienvenido, bienvenido.
¿Cómo estás?
Muy bien, gracias. ¿Usted?
Yo estoy muy bien, estoy muy emocionada.
Muy bien, muy
Ujú.
bien. Hola, hola to all of my Savvy Soldier Abroad viewers. Today, I'm really excited about introducing to you Tamesia Sosa. I'm going to give her an opportunity to introduce herself, give a little bit of background about her. But today, I'm going to be talking about the importance of learning Spanish as a second language, especially for us professionals and us that are in ministry. I see a growing, well, it's been happening for years, a growing population of Spanish speaking individuals coming into our environment. And if it's one thing I truly believe is that when you speak to a person in a language they understand, you're talking to them to the head. But somebody said that when you speak to them in their own native tongue, you're talking and you're communicating with heart. And so I really truly believe that. And so that's why I think learning a second language, even a third language, is really important. Plus, we are such a diverse group of people. People are coming in and out of our lives, and it's just nice to be able to make sure that we are heard and that we hear them, and so that the communication flows. Wouldn't you say so, Tanisha?
Absolutamente. I am in 100% agreement with that. You can connect with people on such a deeper level when you actually can speak their native language. You connect with them. They are able to kind of relax more with you because they feel more comfortable. So, and even on your travels, it can be such a blessing to be able to communicate and enjoy the travels to another level, take it to another level when you're able
Yes,
to navigate the markets and not get overcharged. But of course, we could talk about all that later. But
absolutely,
for me,
absolutely.
Spanish just opens up a whole new world of opportunities, an exciting world as well. I'm a Spanish language coach. I've been a learner and teacher of Spanish for a very, very long time. I come from a background in academia where I taught in higher education for about 12 years, and I wasn't always fluent. I struggled initially with the language, so I didn't grow up speaking the language. I'm fluent because I really took it seriously and built the connections and relationships. But I would say I'm the only one who really speaks Spanish in my house, in my family, not in my house, because in my household we do speak Spanish. But in my family, where I come from, I'm Black, okay?
Wow.
And
When
so, yeah,
Okay, no,
yeah,
so
so it was
when
a
I saw
journey.
your last name Sosa, I was like, well, is she native? Is she Latin
Latina,
American?
yeah.
Yeah, I said, is that her bloodline? So because I'm just getting to know you. We met on Clubhouse
Yes.
during a 5-day speaking challenge with
Uh-huh.
Sharon Shannon, the faith
Yes.
coach. And I said, I got to get to know this Tamisha woman.
Yes.
I really want to know who she is and what she's all about. And so when I
Yes.
saw your last name, I said, she gonna have to tell me a little bit more.
That's right. Well, my husband is from Mexico.
Okay,
So that's where I
okay.
get my last name from.
Okay,
But I grew up in a
beautiful.
Black American household. We didn't speak Spanish. My mom, however, was adamant about me learning it in high school, and
Okay.
I just really didn't understand why. I'm like, why would I? I don't know. Why should I do that?
Yeah, yeah,
But she said she was looking ahead in the future. She's like, this
yeah.
is an up and coming language in our country.
Smart
This
mama.
is something that's going to be needed, for your future. Of course, teenager. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Right, right,
What do you
right.
mean? I don't get it. She said, you
Wow.
have to get it because your butt's gonna be in those classes.
Oh my gosh. So then I guess that will lead me to my first question that I have for you. What inspired you to become a bilingual language coach, and why is Spanish your focus? And you kind of already alluded to that.
Yeah. Yes. Well, after being forced to take all those classes, I said, you know what? I've invested some time into this. I should just keep going and see what happens.
Okay,
So I
okay.
decided to just keep going and take more classes in college. But what I realized was, even though I was focused on taking the grammar classes
Mm-hmm.
and taking the traditional route, I was still not fluent. Still not
Ah,
fluent because the teaching methods were so grammar focused and
yes, yes.
so book and textbook focused. I'm sure your audience knows what I mean. If you've taken it before in college or high school, it is very structured to grammar, to textbook,
Mm-hmm.
not what you're going to really face when you are in Mexico or when you are
Right.
trying to communicate with people. So it was this huge disconnect for my ability to really communicate with people. So I'm like, what's going on? So I went to Mexico for the first time
Mm-hmm.
and did a study abroad program, just a summer program. And I'm like, okay, I have all these years behind my, under my belt. And, I've been studying this language. And I get there with my host family sitting at the table. And I realize I do not understand not one thing. Not one thing. Okay. That was
Okay.
textbook language,
Yeah, yeah.
Spanish that I learned. I did not learn the Spanish of the people. I did
Wow.
not learn how to communicate. I did not learn how to go to a market. I didn't learn how to go to a restaurant or how
Yeah.
to go to a grocery store or how to be at a dinner table in Spanish.
Mm,
We
mm.
were learning this literature, this advanced literature and all these different things, but the real deal connecting with people every day to be able to live in Mexico and feel confident and comfortable, no.
Wow.
A matter of fact, some of the language I was using in Spanish, they were like, it's kind of
What?
looking like, wait, what? Because it
Right.
sounded so stiff. It sounded so
Yeah.
stiff. It wasn't even real. And so I realized in that moment, I had to change the way I was learning the language because I'm like,
Okay.
I'm not retaining, taking more and more of these formalized classes and grammar
Right.
classes. I am in Mexico and I'm struggling. How
Okay.
can that be? It had almost been 10 years of classes.
Wow.
And I'm like,
Wow.
this is not, something is not right. And so that is when I developed the method that I teach my own students, which is an immersion method.
Okay.
Spanish
Okay.
immersion method. So when I was in Mexico, I realized, okay, it's time for me to get out of my shell. I need to just start talking with people. And people were so friendly and coming up to me. And
Yes.
so I'm like, I've got to push myself to speak. I've got to push myself to learn about this culture in Spanish. I've got to push myself to just put myself out there because the
Right.
textbooks are keeping me from all the richness of the culture
Mm.
and being able to communicate.
Man, that
I'm
right
like,
there. That
time to
right
throw that
there.
out the window.
Right. The textbook format is almost like a shackle that
Oh, yes.
keeps you limited. It keeps you very limited in your ability, like you said, to communicate. I think that
Yes.
is so important. So tell
Mhm.
me this: why do you think it's becoming more important for professionals, especially faith leaders, to learn
Oh,
Spanish
yes.
today?
Well, let me tell you, let me rewind a little bit. When I got to Mexico, I prayed and I said, Lord, open my understanding for this
Oh
language.
yes, yes.
I need you to
Ooh.
help me to understand, to communicate. I'm not able to do this on my own. I need you. And he enlightens me.
Mm-hmm.
And he
Mm-hmm.
helped me.
Mm-hmm.
And so one thing I do in my programs is we take it back to the Lord and we
Yes.
say, Lord, help us. I want his favor. I want his hand on my journey of learning Spanish. I want that empowerment. And I believe that's what really helped me as well as methodology of immersion was the Holy Spirit empowerment because everything
Yes.
I was doing was not getting me anywhere.
Wow.
And so, what I would say to professionals is, especially if you are a professional of faith, take it to the Lord in prayer first. He's
Yes.
going to give you the strategy, He's going to give you the right people in your path to help you get to your next level. He's going to reveal to you the things that you need to start doing and stop doing. And He clearly told me I had to get out my comfort zone. I had to
Wow.
stop being afraid and hiding and shrinking and, beating myself up for making mistakes in the language. And I just had to release and let go. And I walked in freedom instead of this condemnation when I would make mistakes in Spanish or I would fumble and I
Yes.
would do this and that.
Yes.
And I just learned to just be free in the language and just even laugh at my own mistakes because I had career goals. Like
Mhm.
many of your audience, they may want to do different things in their career and their professions. They want to use Spanish. And so I had a goal in mind, what I want to do at the time. And it wasn't to become a language coach or a professor at that time. It was, I wanted to become a translator and interpreter.
Ah,
That was my
okay.
career.
Okay.
My career path. And I'm like, if I don't get it together, I'm not going to be able to get into this industry if I'm
Wow.
still struggling with basic Spanish,
Exactly.
basic conversation.
I just
I
want to take
need
a
to
minute to say
improve.
hi to Angela. Hi, Angela. Angela is a big fan of Savvy Soldier Abroad, and she
Oh,
loves Mexico. So I
oh,
want to just say hi to her. Thank
awesome.
you. Thank you. So you just mentioned that you struggled. You struggled.
Yes.
And what do you think the biggest fear or myths that people have about learning Spanish, especially adults?
They think that they're too old. They think that, their time has passed. They're not going to be able to do it. I became fluent as an adult,
Mm,
not as a child. I, understand kind of the struggle sometimes of like the mindset. So you do have to have an empowered mindset in
mm-hmm.
order to do it as an adult. People think you have to have a certain language gene, like you're just a prodigy. Let me tell you, I was not a prodigy. Okay. I was the D student in high school.
Oh my
D.
gosh,
Okay.
no, no,
In high school
D for
Spanish.
diligent, D for
And D
diligent.
for diligent in high school Spanish. I was like, I am never going to get this. This is too hard. I think sometimes we boo ourselves off the stage before we even start to sing our song. Okay. We just have all this mindset that's not empowering, and it keeps us down from thinking, oh, I'm not going to get it. Oh, I'm too old. Oh, no, you're not. Are you too old to be in ministry? Are
Come
you
on,
too old to have a career? Are
that's
you too
right.
old to run that business? No, you are not. And
Mm.
if we're going to take it back to the Bible, how old was Sarah when she had her first baby? Come on
Okay,
now.
now, all
She was
right,
90
come
years
on
old.
now,
So what you
right.
think is easier to learn Spanish or to have a baby at 90? Okay.
Let
So
me do the Spanish. Let me do the
let
Spanish.
me do Spanish. Hey, let me do Spanish. Because, with the Lord, there's nothing impossible. We have
Nothing.
all things available to us. So for
Yes.
for me to hear Christian women, and I've talked to many of them, professional women, are like, I just don't know. Maybe I'm like, oh no, that is not what we're going to say. We can do all things
That's
through Christ who
right.
strengthens us. And when God
That's right.
sends you the right people in your on your path who can
Yes.
help you, who can guide you, who can train you, that is divine intervention right there. He's
Divine
bringing the
intervention.
people to help you, right? Not
Yes.
for you to stay stuck in a mindset that he didn't give you. So I really think it's the mindset that has to grow. You have to have a
Hmm.
renewed mind when you're going into learning a language as an adult, and you have to say no to what the enemy is telling you, because those are all lies. Your brain is capable of learning this language. You
You are
are you
absolutely
are
right.
capable of doing anything that God has put on your heart to do. You can do. You
Amen
can
to
do.
that.
Yeah.
So, what unique challenges would you say that pastors or professionals face when trying to communicate with Spanish speaking communities?
I think one thing is they're trying to do it in the way that they've unfortunately have been taught. Like I said,
Hmm.
that textbook, the very stiff, you know, um,
Yeah.
way that they've learned. You got to really, and this is what I do. I remove a lot of that formality
Hmm.
and this kind of certain structure, and I say, this is how people every day would greet each other. This is how people approach each other. And so I flip the script and I bring it down to where the people are,
Hmm.
because you need to be able to speak. If you're a minister, a pastor, or even a professional, and you're working with clients and customers, you
Hmm.
got to meet them where they are. You have to
Exactly.
understand the language of the people that you are serving or ministering to.
Yes,
And so I
yes.
really try to include a lot of the colloquial expressions and
Okay.
things you're going to hear on an everyday basis. So we do both the kind of informal colloquial expressions, and we also do some of the professional
Sure.
expressions as well. But just really understanding how people actually speak in these different scenarios,
Right,
not the
right.
textbook language, the robotic language, but how do people actually engage? And I think that is
Exactly.
a really big barrier because people aren't taught the real Spanish.
Yes, yes. So, can you share a success story about a client that learned Spanish and made real impact in their work or ministry that you've worked with?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I worked with a lady named Lakita Emmanuel, and she is an owner of a speech and language clinic, and she has a lot of
Oh,
Spanish speaking
wow.
families.
Wow.
And when I first met her, she was kind of shy about her Spanish, kind of shrinking back a little bit. She didn't really, have the confidence to talk to her the clients that were coming in Spanish. She had other
Mhm,
people that
mm,
were helping her
mhm.
communicate with these families, and their child had a speech and language issue, and so she was
Right.
doing therapy and all these things. And so she started off just a little bit shy, and then I just kind of pushed her, and we really worked on what are the everyday scenarios that you're facing in
Mhm.
your clinic, in your practice, and to guide her into being able to have conversations that are meaningful and
Yes,
relevant to her works. Very important
yes.
is that a lot of programs, they're not tailored. There's no customization for your goals,
Mm,
and they're not really asking you what it is that you want, what are things that you need to be able to say and do. And so a part of our assignments were for her to have her own project where she's working on building out her own scripts and her own scenarios that she can work through in Spanish, and with my help and guidance, so that when she's at work, she has something she can fall back on. So by the end of her 90 days with me, she was able to lead those sessions in Spanish. She was able to explain her services in Spanish. She was able to connect with the parents and let them know like the plan for therapy for the child, and the outcomes for therapy, and all these different things. And one exciting thing for me was, I think it was like 6 weeks into the program, she came to our Zoom session and she said, you know what, I was there with the interpreter and with the family, and the interpreter stopped and said, do you need me here?
That speaks volumes, Tamisha.
Yes,
That speaks volumes.
yes, yes.
Wow. So
And she's
so
like, I
talk
don't think you need me here. I think you got this.
so talk a little bit more about that. How is your coaching method different from like the apps or traditional language
Mm,
classes? And you talked about the traditional classes a little bit,
yes,
but
yes.
how is it different from like Duolingo or what's the
Mm,
other one? I think it's Babbel is another
yes.
one. So how is your approach different from what they do?
So it's a high touch experience, a personalized experience. Even in our group, I, talk to each person, and I find out like what are your goals? What are the things that you need to be able to say? And we work on those things in addition to, the curriculum. So really the personalization of your Spanish goals, also immersion. That's one thing
Yes.
you don't get. And I teach you how to recreate an immersion experience. So if you're not in Mexico, I show you how you can set up your environment. Your environment can teach you Spanish. I
Oh.
show you how to approach Spanish as a child. As a child, they have different things that they're seeing, they're
Mm-hmm.
hearing.
Mm-hmm.
I help you set that up for yourself so that even if you're not abroad, you will also already be set up to be hearing, seeing,
Mm-hmm.
reading, listening to Spanish. So my curriculum is very much immersion based, and it accelerates you because when
Okay.
you're hearing, listening, reading, speaking, hitting all those areas, and it's a part of your everyday life, this
Mm-hmm.
is what I call lifestyle immersion. It's a
Okay.
lifestyle immersion
Oh, okay. I
method.
like
So
that.
when you're at the gym, you're listening to something. When you are in the car, there's different things you're listening to, working on, so that it kind of is a seamless part of your day, a part of
Mm-hmm.
this is how a child learns. So you want
Yes.
to
Yes.
recreate that in your everyday life. And it doesn't take a lot of time out of your day. It starts to flow with your day. You start to think,
That's
oh, I'm in the car now. Okay, I'm going to be listening to this. Oh, and I even tell my students, when you're in the shower, all those minutes add up and
yes.
count as immersion. So when you're in the shower, I'm always listening to stuff when I'm in the shower. And
Okay.
I'm like, you could be listening to podcasts, you can be talking to yourself, immersing
Mhm.
yourself, speaking to yourself. Self-talk in Spanish is a powerful method and tool. So I give
Wow.
them powerful tools and strategies to use along their day so that they are staying in constant contact with the language. First thing I do, we're going to put that phone in Spanish. And so when
Uh-huh.
you look at your phone is there. So all these different tweaks, they all into my lifestyle immersion system,
Wow. That is great.
in addition to the curriculum. So that
Wow.
immersion is really what sets it apart, and it's really what accelerates your ability to speak the language. And then
Wow.
I also provide, as the cherry on top of the cake, I provide my students with conversation partners from 18 different countries, in
Oh,
addition to what
wow.
they get from me. So they can
Okay.
also do they can do one-on-one. They can choose what country, if they want to do Costa Rica or Mexico or Puerto Rico or, whatever. And they get an additional one-on-one. And what that helps is they're able to hear the accents
Yes.
from different Spanish speakers from different areas around the world, which just broadens their horizons, their ability to use a language. So
Yes.
the program is very high touch. The program is very much learner centered, immersion centered,
Mhm.
and realistic. And that is why I do include native speakers in the way I teach the language.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And
I
if
want
you
to take
notice, most
uh-huh.
programs, they don't even have you dealing with native speakers at
No,
all.
absolutely not.
Nowhere
Abs
around.
No,
Yeah.
that is definitely a very unique aspect to your program. I want to take a moment now. I always forget to do this. If you have not subscribed to my channel, Savvy Soldier Abroad, go ahead and do so. This is what I love to do. I love to bring information about Spanish to you guys, about traveling to you guys. And I believe that we should all have some type of a slide hustle, because you can't depend on the government to supply your needs financially. So you need to be doing something that you love and monetizing that thing. So hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell so that you can be aware of when I upload the next video. Now, I've got a question for you, Tamesia. What's one simple phrase or cultural insight every professional should know when connecting with a Spanish speaking community?
Professional insight. Um, well, one thing to know about the community, that they're very family oriented, very family based. Once you gain the trust in a professional setting that you are delivering services with excellence, expect referrals.
Oh,
Expect,
wow.
because the community is very much word of mouth,
Okay,
very
okay.
much word of mouth. So that's why you want to build up your Spanish confidence, so that you're not
Mhm.
depending on Google Translate and all these other things. Because once you serve one, guess what? There's more coming, because they tend to have bigger families, very big
Yes,
networks and immigrant communities. And so it's really important to understand that they're a very close knit, tight knit, family oriented. And once you serve them well, you will
yeah.
find that they have brand loyalty.
I believe it. I believe that. I live part-time in Mexico, in Chapala, Jalisco, Mexico, which is just a few minutes away from Guadalajara, which is really like the second largest city in all of Mexico. And I agree with you. Once they connect with you and you're speaking their language, you're servicing them well, you're going to hear about uncles or
Yes.
a brother or
Auntie, uncles,
auntie,
cousins,
somebody else is going to
they're
find out
coming.
who, yeah, they're coming. I
Yes.
love it. I love it. So what with your program, what is something that a person can expect within like the first 30 days after signing up with your program?
In the first 30 days, that's where you're going to gain a lot of momentum. You're going to find that you're so much more confident and bolder in your Spanish. I really push you to start using it right away. You're going to learn hundreds of new phrases and terms and things that you can use in Spanish. You're going to learn about the culture. You're going to learn about some things about the history. You're going to really learn how to connect with that particular, whether culture we're focused on. You're going to learn how to connect well. You're going to understand. I focus more on Latin American Spanish, Mexican,
Okay.
Central American Spanish that you would encounter more commonly in Mexico and some of the other Latin American countries. So you just know that. So you can expect acceleration in that first 30 days.
Wow.
That you are going to feel so much more confident. Now, if you follow the method, right? You do need to follow the method and you do need to practice. But you will find your ability to speak, understand, your listening comprehension, all of those things are going to come alive in those first 30 days.
That is great. So I'm sure that you've worked with what we call busy professionals. How do you help them stay consistent with the language learning?
That is a very good question. I do have a tracker that I have you use. It's very simple. It's a piece of paper. And I would like you to at least do, I would say 20 to 30 minutes of practice a day. Now that can be broken up into two sections. If you have, want to do 15 minutes in the morning or 15 minutes in the afternoon, whatever, but that good 20, 30 minutes. And then I have you track it. Like, did I practice my Spanish? Did I meet with my one-on-one conversation partner? And you put it on your refrigerator, or if you travel a lot, keep it in your suitcase, and you put a little check mark next to the different things that you did. And it's just to keep you accountable. And also when you come in with the one-on-one Spanish speaking partners, you're going to want to be prepared for those. So it's going to push you to say, I want to make sure I do my practice today. So when I meet with so-and-so from Ecuador, I feel confident.
Okay. And so in those meetings with their foreign partners, their foreign language partners, the idea is that they speak in Spanish during that
whole time.
Whatever time that is. That is beautiful.
But they're prepared. So there are instructions that tell you what the conversation is going to be about, things that we've already practiced, so you prepare before you go. It's not, you're not surprised when you get on there.
You're setting them up to win, not to fail.
Yes, exactly. You're prepared. Yes.
Okay. So if someone is feeling nervous about, but no, they want to start, what's one thing they can do today to begin this journey?
The first thing that you have to do is push past your comfort zone. And nobody can do that for you but you. So you may feel a bit nervous, but don't let that be a stumbling block to you, because if this is on your heart, God has placed that there. So I would say be prepared, be comfortable being uncomfortable. Don't let it be something that keeps you from moving forward. And know that as you take steps, as you practice, as you meet with me, you're going to be gaining confidence each and every time. So you have to trust the process. And you will get there.
And we have your information in the ticker, but go ahead and give out more information as to how people can connect with you. Tamesia, you are a godsend. And there are people in the ministry, there are people, professional individuals like the one you spoke about, even like myself. If I was still in the nursing field, I would be like, let's get started. Because as a nurse, I run into a lot of Spanish speaking individuals in that arena, in that area. So let us know, how can we get in touch with you? When is your first available opening? Everything. We just want to know everything.
Well, you can always get in touch with me on LinkedIn. You can also get in touch with me. I will have my booking link in the description box somewhere, and just book a call and let's talk about what your goals are. Let's talk about what you want to be able to do in Spanish and see if what I offer is a good fit for you, and we can move on from there.
Absolutely. Now, before we go any further, you said you married a Hispanic man.
Mexicano, yes.
Mexicano. Did the pillow talk help learn Spanish?
it can spice things up when you know how to flirt in Spanish. And it's helpful. It really breaks the ice when you're able to communicate and talk a little bit, share about yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
get to know this other person that is, becoming someone special in your life. It just really breaks the ice. And I would
Oh, great.
say, for relationship wise, it's a win-win. It's a
Oh, awesome.
win-win if you can
Awesome.
communicate well and go on dates. Go on dates in
Absolutely.
Spanish, and
Absolutely.
that will really accelerate. As a matter of fact, I have a student who she got married during my program. She was engaged to a guy that she had met in Dominican Republic, and she realized her Spanish really, even though she was engaged, her Spanish wasn't exactly where she wanted it to be. And she still struggled with Spanish and communicating with her mother-in-law and all these things. And so by the end of the program, her confidence went through the roof. So
Oh,
she went,
great.
married that man, and was able to use it as a real estate agent as well to talk to
Oh,
clients. So it was a win-win in her profession as a real estate agent, and then also within her love life, she was able to
yes.
express things more deeper
Oh,
rather in Spanish after taking the program. So
oh,
it's
that
a
is
win-win
great.
all
That
around.
is great. Oh my gosh. Tamesia, it has been my pleasure to have you on the show. You are so full of life, very intelligent, very knowledgeable. You are a gift. And
Oh,
I am
thank
just
you.
so glad that
Gracias.
you said yes to the
Yes.
invitation to allow me to share you on this channel with the world. Do you have anything else you want to say before we go?
I want to say, if you feel the nudge right now, the Holy Spirit is speaking to you, and He's saying, finish what you started with Spanish. Don't wait, don't hesitate, because I truly believe this is a divine assignment, and it's time for you to rise up, use your voice in Spanish, impact lives, and receive your blessing.
Thank you. And on that note, we will say goodbye. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, be well, live free, and prosper.